2, 3. Here we go. Hey, man, I want to give a shout out, man, and thank you guys for spending some time with Frankly Football. I'm setting it off, Chris, man, and I am honored to be hanging out with my main man, Space Cowboy, a guy I've been, running around listening to for quite some time, man. Space, thanks for spending some time, as well as Joseph Sandberg. Now, many of y'all don't know Joseph. Joseph has been an admin dealing with Vox Lombardi, but he also puts out great content and kind of just think pieces to get your mind swirling around everything going on with the Dallas Cowboys. Introduce yourself, fellas.
Yeah, sure. I'll go first. For those that don't know who I am, I'm Space Cowboy or Space Cowboy 17 on YouTube. Obviously, another Cowboys YouTuber that just talks about how the Cowboys do. I've been doing it since 2015, so right. I've been doing it for quite some time, and it's just doing it for fun, man. Nothing crazy.
Absolutely, absolutely. Go and introduce yourself, Joe.
Hey, I'm Joseph Sandberg. I'm a mod for Vox Lombardi, also for Law Nation as well, and Space Cowboy.
That's it, man. That's what's up, man. Well, guys, we got a lot of things going on, and we want to call this guys hanging at the water cooler. We kind of new to this thing. We're not formed enough to have a table or anything of that nature, but we just guys hanging at the water cooler, and we want to talk about the contract of a one Patrick Mahomes and how it correlates to dealing with Dak Prescott, or as I always call him, Rain Dakota Prescott, because I give him his respect, and how that works out for short-term as well as long-term of it. Joseph, you sent out a piece, man, about the percentage for the cap being used up by a quarterback. And I know, Space, you're a real good, as I would say, a capologist, a guy who looks at the cap, deals with team building, and I kind of want to get your guys' insight on it. First and foremost, $503 million guaranteed over 12 years. That's a gang of money. What you think?
I could go first, or if Joseph wants to go
ahead,
first.
Man.
All right. Yeah, sure. Yeah. So, this is a huge contract. This is the longest deal we've seen a player get since, if we're just talking about NFL standards, Tyron Smith. Tyron Smith got an 8-year deal, I believe, in 2014, and that was a pretty damn good deal for what it is. The last quarterback to get a massive deal like this, I believe, was Michael Vick. I could be correct, because I know it was Donovan McNabb, Michael Vick, Drew Bledsoe, and Brett Favre. Well, Brett Favre wasn't really a 10-year deal. It was more of a lifetime contract, but there really wasn't like there wasn't an official number to it from what I was looking at. Right. So I guess I'll start off by saying the actual deal. So the deal is around, I think they said upwards to $503 million.
Up to 500, it's got triggers to push it over to 503. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And it's over 10 years. Now, the key thing is how does this look on paper? Well, on paper, it's really a 5-year deal with 5 more optional years. Now, again, Patrick still has 2 more years on his rookie deal.
Right.
Okay, he's getting paid about $1 million this year, and then he'll get paid about –
I thought it was 8. I thought it was his signing bonus was $10 million.
Yeah.
Okay. I think he was getting – I want to say this year was $18 million was going to be his number for this year.
Yeah, I was more referring to the base salary that is.
Right.
So okay. Obviously, the base salary is different because that's not how a cap works. But signing bonus, if you include that, it's about $5 million, and something around there. But otherwise, the key thing is it's really a 12-year deal when you look at it. So Mahomes is under contract and doesn't have a dead cap hit until after 2025. And so for me, I think the Chiefs played this pretty good because you're going to have to pay him at some point. So you're theoretically paying him a 5-year deal.
Right.
But what's key here is he's getting a cap hit of around, I think the most is $42 million in 2023. So overall, I think that the Chiefs played this well. Now, we'll get into the long-term effects of this because we're going to compare that as well. But I think ultimately, look, the Chiefs get their guy for 10 or 12 years now. And as long as they continue drafting and doing their thing, I think they'll be right in the mix of things. So,
right. Give me what you think on that, Joseph. Talk to me.
Well, here's the cool thing. As Space said, like, this is like a 12-year deal, but the cap hit does not hit like immediately. It's an extension. That's what people forget about this.
Right.
And this is if I heard correctly, this is the biggest contract in all of sports up to this point.
Correct. Like richest deal because Mike Trout got a 12-year deal, but it's still technically a big deal. It's technically like a 12.
Yeah.
Well, if you include the first 2 years or the first 2 years of the deal before it hits the extension, yes, it is the most richest contract. So.
And Mike's getting all his money. There's no question about Mike's getting every dime of his money. Even if he's got to be like Bobby Bonilla 15, 20 years down the road getting his money, he's going to get all his bread.
Oh, hell yeah.
All his bread is coming.
And one thing I like about this, like it actually builds up like as the salary is projected to go up.
Right. So my thing when I'm looking at it is just like you said, Space, you get your guy for 7 years, then you have the triggers, or it's really a team-friendly deal like these long-term deals are. Just like it was with Vic. Bledsoe's the only one that kind of Bledsoe's and Culpepper was the other guy you forgot had the 10-year deal. Those are the ones that kind of blew up because one due to injury, and that's what caused guys to turn around and say, "Hey, that's not a great deal." But to get a young man of his talent, his caliber, I've said this before on our channel. I only believe there's 2 trucks in the NFL. All the other quarterbacks, the other 30 are trailers. My only 2 trucks are Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson. Those are my only 2. I'm not saying Rain is a truck. They need other pieces around them to make them do what they do. Patrick has the ability to have a great signal caller, a great play caller in Andy Reid, along with Eric Bieniemy helping out. And right now, no one's really getting paid a lot of money for the Chiefs. You got Sammy Watkins, Tyreek's on a rookie deal, Kelsey's who he is. So this deal is going to put a lot of pressure on the GM of the Chiefs to do what he did. But Joseph, talk to me a little bit about the piece you sent out about the percentage of the cap to a quarterback. Because right now, as life is, and with the salary cap where it is right now, Patrick is counting roughly outside of Rain, because Rain right now is the highest cap hit percentage for any quarterback in the NFL with his $31 million deal at 16%. If Patrick runs his course as of right now, and you're looking at the cap getting about $300 million, 250 million, 300 million, he's going to hit about 20%. So give me your number, or give me your analogy from your piece about the cap hit number and the percentage for a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Well, I think part of it's like a little bit like messed up because some people think, Peyton Manning managed to win a Super Bowl with getting like 12.2% of the cap hit. Right.
Okay. So,
but Peyton Manning, people want to point to that, but believe it or not, actually, Tom Brady actually won Super Bowls as well as being like the upper echelon thing of winning Super Bowls, and being like the big part of his contract.
Right. So you got those guys who all these guys at one point in time were the highest paid quarterback in the league at a point in time, and then they proceeded to get to the point of winning Super Bowls. Tom had already won a couple Super Bowls before he got his big payday. Peyton was always known as a statistical monster. Then he got his money for being the highest paid at the time he got it, and then he had to go elsewhere to win his Super Bowl with that big contract.
Right.
So with Patrick having everything in front of him, already having an MVP in his pocket, already having a Super Bowl in his pocket, and now him signing this deal, in your opinion, who's the pressure on now for success for Patrick Mahomes? Is it more on the organization, or is it on Patrick Mahomes?
This is actually.
Well, go ahead, Joe.
No, you can go.
I think the pressure's more on the GM than anything else.
Okay.
Because no quarterback that I've looked up, except maybe like Joe Namath and a couple others, have actually won a Super Bowl by themselves.
Right. So what you're saying to me, Joe, is that no quarterback wins a Super Bowl by himself. Therefore, this analogy or this I am legend type thing that's out there is that Rain has too much help for him to win games. Because I always want to bring everything back to my quarterback, my football team, whereas the Chiefs aren't paying anybody, and now you're looking at this big contract for your quarterback, because nobody is saying that deal is outrageous. Nobody's saying Patrick Mahomes isn't worth the money. I am not sitting here saying right now that Rain is on Patrick's level. I believe in my heart and mind and soul that Rain is a top 5, top 7, top 5 quarterback in this league. We can go all day about who you think of the other 5 or 6 that are better than him. I don't see them. I really don't. That have the ascension that Rain has right now. Now you got guys who have pedigree, but I'm talking about ascending in play. I don't see 6 other guys moving ahead of him in that area. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think like overall, I think it is, and I agree with Joseph. It's on the GM. Look, at the end of the day, we know what Patrick Mahomes is. We know what he can do when you give him help. I mean, and you could see that with other quarterbacks. The thing is that once you pay your guys money, it ends up coming down to the nitty-gritty of can that front office surround that team with talent to get the job done, right?
Right.
And this is why you see the Ravens be competitive almost every year. You see teams like the Patriots always be competitive every single year, even when they're paying people. Because guess what? They're drafting well, and they're changing those rotating parts, and they're continuously contending.
Right.
Now, in regards to the Chiefs have, well, for the most part, have done very well with drafting over the past couple of years, getting late round steals like in Travis Kelce, getting some starters and stuff like that on their offensive line in the later rounds, or like, for example, like Cameron Irving, like you get a guy off the, I know he's not the greatest, but still,
right.
like you get those serviceable guys.
You gotta get serviceable guys.
And not only that, it was like the perfect storm. You have a great coach in Andy Reid. You have a front office that's willing to work with its players, and they're willing to take risks. Yeah, I want to give up first-round picks personally, but they were able to take those calculated risks, and they paid off for them. And again, the Chiefs didn't need a stellar defense to win the Super Bowl. They clearly won the Super Bowl using their high-octane offense to come back in all of those games when they were down 10-plus points, in all of them.
Right.
So for me, I think ultimately and we'll correlate this to Dak, Rain, Dakota Prescott,
right.
is that he is going to get his money some way, somehow. And I don't want to jump, ship to that topic, which we'll get to it. But my whole main premise, and I always try to tell people, is Dak will have a situation where he's going to end up, if he wants to play on the franchise tag, guess what? He's playing with house money because with all the tools he's going to work with, look, he saw how much money Patrick Mahomes got. You really think he's going to sit back and, not take that opportunity to try and get a deal like that? Are you kidding me? So, what I don't like is, and Joseph and I have seen this from people, is, every single year the goalpost moves to, I don't think he's worth this much, but he's rather worth this much.
Not the moving goalpost. The infamous moving goalpost. Go ahead.
And the reason why it bothers me is, if you have to move the goalpost continuously to the point to where you have to compare him to the best quarterback in the league, Dak's already won. He's already won because he's not looking for the 10-year deal. We already know from his camp he wants a 4-year deal. $35 million a year. He's going to get that. I wholeheartedly believe he's going to get that because let's just say the Cowboys are like, you know what? Just prove it. Well, if he goes out and wins the Super Bowl, you know what he could do? He's playing with house money, and he can ask for any contract he wants. Hell, he could go go to a conference championship game, and he could do the same thing.
What you think, Joseph?
Yeah. Overall, when it comes to the quarterback, even if he does get to the divisional round, he pretty much can ask for whatever he wants because overall there's not that many quarterbacks also after him that are in his tier.
Absolutely. So going what you guys are saying, I kind of echo the same thing. I think he is playing with house money, even at the cap with everything that's going along with COVID-19. Even if the cap doesn't elevate much, he's still going to be at $37 million next year. And the thing you're looking at is he's got the Cowboys over barrel because one, you're not gonna be bad enough to go get Trevor Lawrence. You're not gonna be bad enough to go get Fields out of Ohio State. So if you're not gonna be bad enough to get those guys, and you're already not willing to trade any of the draft capital that you have built up, and I think you've talked about it before, Space. I know you've talked about it, Joseph. You're gonna end up with roughly 5 to 6 picks in the top 130 next year. Mm-hmm. You got your first, your second, 2/3, 2/4, and that's just with the compensatory of Byron Jones, and Robert Quinn. You're not even putting in the Randall Cobb compensatory pick that you're going to end up getting. And so that when you've got that much capital, you can go ahead and turn around and cut this deal, whereas you'll be able to get the influx of cheap talent that the Cowboys love to deal with over the next year to 2 years and get those guys to develop. And that'll be another time of another water cooler session we can get together and talk about. But I'm looking at it, the contract that he signed was incredibly friendly, team friendly. Right now we're looking at about $140 million in guaranteed money before we get the incentive clicks in after the fifth, after year 7 of this quote unquote deal. And I think that is an amazing contract. So whereas people would say, who got the most leverage in this? I think Rain got leverage because he finally saw what the number Mahomes was going to get. But I also think it turns around for Jerry and Steven for them to turn around and say, hey, if you want to do something, we can do that too. But this is the one thing that by listening, because I listen to a lot of guys. I was listening to the Darren Woodson podcast, and he was talking to Troy Aikman. And this is something Jerry has done since he's owned the Cowboys. He's always wanted a guy to take half the money or take less money because of the honor of playing for the Dallas Cowboys. What do y'all think about that part? Because it's always been this poison he's poured in the water, and it didn't start just with Rain. He did it with DeMarcus Lawrence. He did it as far back as Des Bryant. He's always put it to the point, you should be honored to wear the star on your helmet, therefore you should take less money. What you think about that, Joseph?
Emmitt Smith. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. Well, see, Emmitt and Rain are in the same boat because Emmitt didn't have a contract. You can't hold out if you don't have a contract. You just don't you don't have a place to work. And at that point in time, we didn't have free agency. He just didn't have a place to go play. And he wasn't getting traded. He couldn't go out in the market. So, no, he did the same thing with him. So you got those guys. Historically, he's done this. So being that that's the case, we've always come up to the edge of, let's make a deal. Deadline make deals. I think that's something Dallas has always wanted to have, make it a deadline to keep their name in the paper. Patrick Mahomes signs a deal, and Dak Prescott is still in the top of the news cycle. And that makes Jerry happy like a pig in slop. What you think, Space?
I mean, look, at the end of the day, I never liked the whole, you're playing for this certain team. It's like me saying, why would I pay you this much money? You're playing for the Yankees. You're playing for the Knicks. You're playing for the Lakers. No one says that. No athlete, they don't do that. That's not how it works, right?
Right.
And then not only that, the fact is this is something that's irked me with Jerry and Steven for the longest time. It's look, you say one thing and then you're like, we want to try and make it. It's like, that's not how it works, man. This is the one thing. They draft well. That I'm cool with. They do really well for the most part, I will say, in free agency to get a couple nuggets here and there to make the team at least have a couple nice rotational pieces. Could we get more? Yeah, but it's, good for what we're paying. But then when it comes to signing our own players, which is the most important thing that a team could do, especially if a Pro Bowler, right? You see what happened, right? They were willing to give Lyell his money. They were willing to give Jalen Smith his money, willing to give Zeke his money. 3 massive contracts in the span of a couple weeks.
Right.
And then apparently they were trying to get Dak his contract, but this is where I don't know the full story, but apparently Dak turned down a $33 million deal from them before the start of the 2019 season, which that was his option to do. He's like, look, I'm going to bank on it. Worst case scenario, if I don't do well, then I might take a smaller deal. I don't know. I don't know what his thought process was, but
right.
But here's the thing. The problem is when people the thing that I guess is my biggest pet peeve when it comes to when we talk seriously about sports is people don't realize the market will continue to go up regardless of how you like it or not like it.
Right.
And so I understand. Yeah, I would like Dak to pay on a cheaper deal, but to play on a cheaper deal, excuse me. But my problem is he already did that. If you look at his rookie deal, he only got paid at most $3 to $4 million over the period of 4 years. And so he's playing on minimum wage, and then all of a sudden he's asking for money And I had a conversation with a bunch of people about this, where I'm like, well, is he worth more than Wentz and Goff? And odds are they'll say yes. And then I agree with that. I'm not saying he's better than Mahomes, but the fact of the matter is that's how a market works. He'll look at people with lesser resumes as well as his agent, and they'll go up to Jerry and be like, listen, you said you want this guy, and look, he has better resumes than all these guys, and you don't want to pay him that much? Come on. You see what I mean? It's like, it's ridiculous.
Right. Joseph, what do you think about that with the pay scale and everything that's going on with Rain?
Well, I do believe full-heartedly that Rain will get his money, and he's going to be worth his money. I just wish Jerry would be pay the type of risk, take the type of risk that he did with the drilling for oil, and just pay his man.
Okay, I think he did take. I think Jerry has been extremely beneficial in this transition. I think let's look at teams that transition from a great quarterback to the next guy. Okay, Miami has taken forever to get to Tua Tagovailoa. Okay, it took they were the San Diego Chargers, Los Angeles Chargers to move from, and I'm going way back, to go from Fouts to the guys they got now. It's been, and they have, and Jerry has never done it outside with a first round quarterback. He found Tony. He's sitting there, undrafted, sat on your bench for 4 years, got his start, boom. And I've always said this: I am not the biggest Tony Romo fan, but I understand that the Jerry world is built on his back, literally. It was built. He kept them relevant. He kept them in games. Most of you guys who are Cowboy fans, you watched him. He was the only shining light for those years. And now you move from him, and you didn't come out the gates wanting Rain, because he was your fourth pick. He was the fourth guy you wanted. You wanted Paxton Lynch. You wanted Connor Cook. It was somebody else before you even thought about getting him. You got him with a compensatory pick. You didn't get him with your fourth round pick. You got him with your compensatory pick. And the guy has played above and beyond what you could have ever thought and imagined. And going back, if you listen to some of the documentaries Rain has done, he's getting to the point of just learning how to read defenses and do those different things. So he's got 4 years on the job of doing it. And I would just say right now, him going to his fifth year, he's kind of looked at every test you can give him. I think the biggest addition he got last year was John Kitna, see it and rip it. I think he's going to be that upper echelon quarterback come next year and beyond. So you might as well go ahead and pay him. But him being $31 million against the cap this year, you're not going to get the benefit that the Rams got, that the Eagles got, that the Chiefs got. You're not going to get the ability to buffer that big hit because you waited so late. And I honestly believe you should have signed him after year 2, after Zeke was unjustly suspended for those 6 games, and signed him then to say you held the ship together. You didn't end up with a losing season, and hey, let's go and get you signed now because you showed us you are our guy then, and not being this boat they're in right now. But you're right, Joseph. You're right. Go ahead. Hey, go and sign the deal, get the guy done, and go from there. So Patrick gets $140 million guaranteed money. That's more than Goff. That's more than Carson Wentz. Okay. So if you look at giving Rain what, 145 guaranteed over what, 4 years, 5 years? What's that average out to me, Joseph?
Just think I don't have my calculator from me.
I'll pull it up.
But is
because
it like 38.5?
At the end of the day, the only money that counts.
36 mil, yeah.
Yeah, the only money that counts is the guaranteed money. It's the only money that counts is the guaranteed money. If he wants a 4-year deal at 140, you're looking at he's not going to pay for 10. He's not going to pay for what 10 3. Well, he made that's 30 something. That's what 35 million. That's 35 million at 140 for a 4-year deal. And if that's what he wants to get back in the market, he'll still be able to go and get the TV revenue money, and he may not get $503 million, but if he goes 140 for his first 4 years, and then he comes back, now he is in year 9 and really coming into his own, he could turn around and sign another $170 million deal and get to a quarter of a billion, on his deals. Would you as an owner be looking to do that?
I mean, for me, I'm all in on Dak. I would say after the third year, he proved it to me. I think that, well, even after the second year, he proved it to me. I think a lot of people see, and again, people forget we had Jason Garrett as our head coach and plenty of other things holding the guy back.
I mean,
okay?
that's
crazy.
That's one of those abusive relationships that you've been in. We're trying to move on from that. You know, you're going to rehab, you're going to counseling, you know, you're not walking around with a pork chop over your eye anymore. You're to the point of saying, okay, I'm trying to forget those bad memories. But you're right, even though with him, right.
And exactly. And the biggest thing for me is like Dak, listen, if he wanted to bet on himself, I don't care. He could do it whatever he damn well pleases. Because guess what? It's his decision. But at the end of the day, it's now the Cowboys' turn to, you know, step up to the plate and get the deal done. Because Dak, he's playing, like I will always say from now on until he gets his deal, he's playing with house money. Even if he's like, you know what, I'll just play on the franchise tag. Don't even worry about the deal. Guess what? He goes out and does very damn good, and he ends up winning a championship for you, gets you to a conference title game, or gets you to the Super Bowl, doesn't win it, but still gets you there. He's got all the bargaining chips in the world. You have a situation where he wasn't born the last time the Cowboys have been to a Super Bowl, if I remember, or at least very, very, very young.
Very, very young. Very, very young.
And the fact is like, again, it comes down to what the Cowboys are saying. This isn't like I'm coming up with something to sign Dak. It's like, look, it's just funny to me because, like, under my circumstances of talking about this, I've always been on the pro Dak side of things because when you look at the evidence, it shows that he's done really nothing wrong. Like I remember in 2017, the whole thing of, Dez Bryant was being unfairly like put in a situation because of the quarterback he had. That's not true. Dak Prescott got a older Dez Bryant, which again, it's not his fault. Injuries happen, but when you have a guy like him being your number one, and you go back and look at what he had to work with, it's unreal that we won 9 games with that. But more importantly, before I end my whole point on this, is that when you got Dak Prescott, guys to work with, he's played at a phenomenal level. In 2018, you get his guy in Amari Cooper. He plays more efficiently. He goes out, wins your division, goes on a ridiculous run, wins you a playoff game for the first time in 5 years, and you know he proved it. Like a lot of people thought, okay, Dak can't win without Zeke. Then it was, okay, Dak can't win because I can't even think of it because it's like they were saying, Dak can't win without Zeke. Then you give him a weapon and he does better when Zeke wasn't doing well, especially in that Rams game when he's keeping you in it. Then all of a sudden people want to be like, Dak can't win without weapons. It's like, again.
Right. It was Dak can't win without Zeke. Then it was Dak can't throw because everything's short and underneath. Then it was this year, he's got to prove he can win so many games, and they never turned around and put him in a position where, the front office pretty much handcuffed him this year with saying, okay, Jason, you've got to get to the NFC Championship. They came out last year and said, you've got to get to the NFC Championship. If you don't get there, you're not being retained. So I think that hurt not just Rain, but he had to go do certain things. I think it hurt the entire franchise. The coaching staff had so many, they weren't developing their guys. I think that really hurt. And I know we can talk this another time. I think it hurt the young Tristan Hill. I think it hurt Joe Jackson. I think it hurt the entire team. I also think it finally came to bite them having undersized interior guys, because with those undersized interior guys, you couldn't get your most valuable asset of your defense flowing, which were your linebackers. You got to cover those guys up. And I think with Antoine Woods being hurt, that hurt him. And then that translated over to the offense. Well, hey, Dak can't win, but you've got the 32nd ranked special teams. Your defense goes on this tear where they're not tackling anybody, right? And it's still up to Rain to come back and win game after game after game. we can go down the list. The Packers game, you can't fall behind 21-3 because you got to stop somebody. You can't fall behind 14-0 to Minnesota because you got to stop somebody. You can't turn around on Thanksgiving Day and turn around and make Josh Allen look like, he's the second coming of I don't even, it just looks amazing. And then of all the games that drive me crazy, you cannot let Mitchell Trubisky look like he's an NFL quarterback and win football games against you because your defense let you down. But all that always points back to rain. Oh, there's empty yards, empty calories, and things of that nature. Joseph, what do you think about that? If you got a better defense and you win more games, I think we're sitting here. If you win more games and go to the playoffs, you're sitting here right now saying, I still got Jason Garrett as my coach.
That's quite fair to say that. And I actually went through and actually did a statistics thing on Brett. Brett is actually responsible like 3 3/4 lost. Coaching also costs us a decent bit of games as well.
Right.
The Vikings game, to an extent the Bears game. And you can't miss long-range field goals and then expect that, they start out like at the 40-yard line and, my defense as ranked near the about like average or below average range and expect to win.
Right.
It's insane.
Right.
And Dak was actually not – his empty calories was not all empty calories that I Am Legend wants to tell you.
Right. It's to the point that certain things you look at and said they were beating guys. You fall behind 21-3 to the Packers, but if you go back and look at that game, placement of the ball, Amari catches it, they jump out on the Packers, and it's a totally different football game.
Right.
You turn around, you don't have a phantom fumble, and you don't have Jason Witten playing at all, and you maybe beat the Saints.
Don't forget about the bogus PI call that was missed blatantly.
Oh my God.
Right. Yep. Me and BH, we went and did a Mythbuster. We've been working on this Mythbuster with Amari Cooper about his vanishing on the road. And it just shows you how people don't do the homework or don't go and look at the film. We did that. And if you get an opportunity, guys, if y'all listening, go back and look at our Amari Cooper Mythbuster about the New Orleans game that we just put out. And it'll kind of open your eyes to certain things where he didn't play as bad as you thought he did on the road. We've got 2 more installments of that. And, that's kind of plugging the future stuff we got coming down the road. But that's our issue. So, in closing, or kind of like bringing this all together, I'm under the banner of Rain gets his money. Mike McCarthy to me only has to give me my 3 wins a year. He is by his coaching, he gets me 3 wins a year. I think that's what coaching does in the NFL. I think that's what the top tier guys, the Andy Reids, even though Doug Peterson plays for that Loser-Delphia franchise up in Pennsylvania, I think he gets you 3 wins a year. I think Mike Tomlin gets you 3 wins. A top tier NFL coach gets you 3 wins a year. The other 7 to 8 that you need to get a first round bye in the playoffs comes from the talent that's around you. What you guys think about that?
I mean, yeah, I agree. I mean, look, to the whole success of this franchise, it comes down to what the Cowboys do with Dak, and I'm under the firm belief he's going to get his money. I think the Cowboys are just going to cave in, give him his money before the deadline. There was a rumor circulating about that. I don't know the validity of it. I'm not really like a big rumor person, but but like there's mumblings that they'll just cave in and give him his money, which I think they should just do. At this point, it's about year length.
Yeah, but they cave everywhere. You got the highest paid left defensive end. You got the highest paid running back. You got the highest paid wide receiver. You got you got a linebacker who's top 5 in pay. Your left tackle is still top 5 in pay. Your right tackle is top 5 in pay. You got the top 3 right guard in football getting paid. So I mean, the problem is you paid everybody top of the market. You've got to get some cheap labor, but you can't go cheap at the most valuable position on your team, because not only is he great on the field, man, he does all the intangibles in the community off the field and at the podium. At the podium, he's rock solid at the podium.
And here's my thing. This is where it's a three-part thing when it comes to this whole thing. It comes to the player. Well, first, it comes to the front office getting the players and getting the deals done, right? I think they need to make up in their mind what they want to do when it comes to personnel decisions, right? For me, do I think a running back's worth that much money? On a regular basis, no. But with Zeke, the thing with Zeke is he has had elite level production ever since he stepped in the league, and he has not told me, yo, I don't want to give this dude money yet. Okay, so we got him until his prime's over, which is good. And otherwise, you could just cheaply get that labor from a running back, because you could see what you can get in Tony Pollard and stuff like that. But that's just one example, right? Now, another thing is the coaching staff. This was a huge detriment that killed us in 2019. If I had to use a great analogy for this, I'm not sure if you guys were alive for this, probably. The 1998 Dallas Cowboys, if you remember, they went 10-6. They lost to the Arizona Cardinals in the wild card round. That team, if they had gotten Randy Moss, I think they would probably won the Super Bowl that year, because there were key things that happened during that season, which that team should have been 12-4. That team should have been a lot better than what it was. And that's the thing. And if you know that, I think it was Chan Gailey who was the coach. I forget.
Right, that was Chan Gailey.
He wasn't that great. He wasn't the greatest coach. But the point is if you have a good coaching staff that's experienced, which the Cowboys got in this offseason, you're going to see that pay dividends. Mike McCarthy pretty much averages around 9 to 10 wins a season. That's insane to think about.
Absolutely.
And so if we can get that to change, and we can improve in the coaching staff and decision-making processes that would allow us to have won more games and get us into the playoffs, cool. Now that's another part taken care of. Finally, which I think the Cowboys already have, talented roster. The Cowboys have talent all over this roster. There's no question about it. Me and Vaj have gone on record saying we believe the Cowboys can be a dynastic type of team. And I know people are like, oh, why aren't you saying that? Because you guys haven't won a championship yet. And, the point is we believe that if all the parts come together and if everything comes together, everyone's pretty much paid already at your key positions. All you got to do is continue to draft well and supply this team with solid young talent for 4 years, along with what you got now. And this team can definitely dominate the NFC for many years, assuming that there hasn't been a dominant team in the NFC. It's always been on and off. And I think the Cowboys can slide in and definitely do that.
What you think about that, Joe?
That is actually a very good point about the coaching staff. It's insane if you want to think about how much success that McCarthy has in the postseason, regular season. It's insane.
Right.
So we already upgraded there. And there's one thing I was thinking about the quarterback position specifically, that when Dak does get his deal done, the first year is going to be team friendly, so it's not going to matter too much.
Got you.
And if you get the deal done this year, you get more money that's going to help out in your salary cap for next season.
Okay.
Which is good. And so either you get the deal done this year, next year, you're still going to be on team friendly deal during the first year. And the thing about acquiring a quarterback in the draft, the bust rate is an alarming 37% now, and it's probably even climbing upwards with some of these other quarterbacks I've seen drafted.
Okay. Because if you go back, let's go back 4 years. Okay, we got a little time. You got 4 years. You got Goff, who the jury is kind of still out, but he got to the Super Bowl, so you can't say if he doesn't do anything else as the number one pick in the draft, he got his team to the Super Bowl, and that's all you really care about. You got Carson getting his team. Well, he was on a team that went to the Super Bowl. I mean, he didn't play, and we know his playoff record, but he's been serviceable. You've got also in that you've got Paxton Lynch, but you don't know where he's at. Connor Cook, you don't know where he's at. You got Rain, who's got 4 years, and he had his first – he hasn't had a losing season yet. So that's what you looked 4 years ago. You got this classes out now. You got questions with Baker Mayfield. You got Josh Rosen is a lost cause. He's an absolute lost cause. Think about that. Josh Rosen is in the NFL. He's on his 3rd year of his rookie deal, and he is now relegated to being a backup. He's a backup quarterback. What more can you think? Nobody's trading for him. So he's a backup quarterback. You got him. You got Sam Darnold, who's everybody's saying, hey, put pieces around him. And then last year, you got Daniel Jones, questions on him. Kyler Murray, right? And so it is a huge.
You also have Haskins.
Yeah.
I forgot about Dwayne. I forgot about him.
And also, I want to add something because I actually looked at this too. Is like, so I was like, okay, if all these Madden fans, as I like to put it, because they think it's like a plug and play league, you can just go get a quarterback.
Plug him in. Just put him on in there.
Just drive the ship and you'll be fine.
It's
so
fine.
let's look at it. 2016, right now. I'm not saying I would take these people over Dak. I'm just saying two guys or a handful of guys that came out of that draft where it's like, okay, I can use this person as a starting quarterback. So we got Wentz and Goff. Okay, That's easy in that order. Okay, then you got Mahomes and Watson. Okay, and then there's a bunch of other quarterbacks that were in that draft class. I'm not even naming them because they were that garbage or they were backups.
Right.
Then you got Lamar and Baker, who I think if Baker can really get himself together, he can be a pretty damn good quarterback. But he's in Cleveland, and he hasn't taken that next step yet because he showed glimpses in his rookie year. But the point is hey, look, there's that. And then finally, 2019, you got Kyler Murray, who looks like one of those young dynamos that can, energize. And he has Nuke Hopkins now. That's going to be awesome to see. Daniel Jones, I wasn't on the bandwagon that thinks he sucks. I think that he has the ability to be a more mobile Eli Manning, which if the Giants want, that's cool. But for me, he needs to fix his fumbling issues, and he needs to be a bit he has to be less sporadic, in my opinion, not like with throwing the football, but more so being, consistently statistically.
Right.
And then you have Drew Lock, who looks surprisingly, and Dwayne Haskins, we don't know yet. So my whole point is like when you look at these drafts, you need to get the number one pick to get the guy you want. You had Joe Burrow go, and then Tua, and then a bunch of other guys. Now, imagine if the Cowboys, right, go to the NFC Championship game. Let's say they lose in the NFC Championship game. I don't know. And they have the 30th overall pick. There is no way in hell you can jump from 30 to number one. The chart doesn't work. It makes no sense.
No sense. No. But here's the other part. You're not going to the NFC Championship and going from 30 to 1. But here's the other part most people don't want. Nope. We are extremely spoiled as Cowboy fans.
Yep.
And we cannot deal with the heartache and the badgering and the just straight the distasteful taste of losing. 2015 going 4-12. It was horrible. It was horrific to go 4-12 and have to wait to get to 2016 and be in position to draft Zeke where you did. So you can't imagine going 2-3 years in that abyss again of trying to find a quarterback and then being able to be in position to go get number one, be in the top 10 to go get a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And so
and just to also say that, like, think about it. The Cowboys throughout their entire history have had a franchise quarterback other than one period of time, and that was between Aikman and Romo, which was between, I would say, 2000, 2001, upwards to 2006.
Right.
And the thing is like you said, I completely agree with you. We've been spoiled as fans because guess what? We haven't had to use prime draft capital to get a quarterback. We haven't had to trade up to get that guy. We just had it fall into our lap. And for me, I think that's awesome because we looked at what the Cowboys try to do in this current administration with how they evaluate quarterbacks. They have not done a damn thing. If you remember the early 2000s, Quincy Carter. Now, for me, I think if Quincy didn't have his demons, I think he could have been something, but I don't know. But then you have guys like Chad Hutchinson, Drew Henson, Drew Bledsoe, Anthony Wright.
You take a flyer on Ryan Leaf. You turn around and, guys who look good in shorts. That was during the time in the tenure where, and like I said, we could talk about this all night, where you didn't have the right people making football decisions. I think the biggest thing right now, and we'll talk about this another time, and I'll probably shoot this out and you think about it. You want to sign Rain now. The guy who I think you have to secure long-term next is Will McClay. Because I think if Will McClay gets out of the building, we go back to 5-11. I think Will McClay has been the guy to go get people that has changed the game altogether.
Mhm.
What you think
Yeah.
about that, Joseph?
Yeah, that's true because Will actually has made a lot of good decisions for the Cowboys. Fortunately, he does interview with the Texans almost every year for a while. For a general manager spot, he always declines it for a good reason because you never know what may go on over there. But he's like a GM, but not in name.
I think he takes a lot of heat off any other GM because Jerry's to the point he's always out front. He's always talking, so you're going to point it to Jerry. But his last, since 2000, his first round picks have been great. But let's be honest, he has been on fire from 2016 to now. I even think with everything we can talk about it another time, like I said, everything he's put in place, he's been able to revamp parts of his whole defense in draft class. He did that this year with the addition of with the secondary. He's revamped his secondary. This is the second time he's done it. He did it first when he got Chidobe, when he went and got Jordan Lewis, and when he got Anthony Brown. He revamped his whole secondary. If you go back and think about the secondary they had, you had Morris Claiborne, you had Orlando, and he brought those guys in. He did it with his linebackers. When got the revamping of the linebackers, taking a chance with Jalen Smith, getting Leighton when everybody wanted a wide receiver. I think he's done a great job with that. His wide receivers, he's done an awesome job with that by getting Michael Gallup, having heaven fall in your lap, getting Sedarian at 17, and then even making the decision to go get Amari Cooper. And I don't know about you guys, but I knew Amari Cooper was great in college. I just didn't know he was the technician that he was until I got a chance to bring him over here and look at him and just see he's just amazing. So I think they've been able to do that. I think the one thing they've done, they've changed their mindset on the offensive line. They keep putting offensive line guys in the pipe. You got 4 or 5 guys that even right now, 3 years from now, if Tyron Smith decides at the end of this contract, if he jumps up one day and says, I don't want to play anymore, you've got a replaceable, serviceable guy who can play in that position. And you're not sitting there scratching your head like, what are we going to do? It's a luxury that Will McClay is given.
Texans?
Go ahead, Joe.
Oh, you mean like be like the Texans and ask like what's going to happen to my quarterback because I think some defensive end is going to take his head off.
Absolutely,
Like
you don't have that problem. Right now you don't have that problem. If you turn around and look at it, if Tyron turns around and says next year, hey, I don't want to play anymore. Okay, well I still got Connor Williams there. I still got a Brandon Knight there. I still got a guy who can play there. I still got an emerging and great right tackle in Lyle Collins. My interior, my line's gonna be fine this year. I really believe, and Vach has done a video and he's talked about it before. I don't think I've said it, man, I don't think Joe Looney makes my football team. But all being said and done, you have to sign your franchise quarterback. I've heard so many times, go win something. I never heard anybody say, hey, Tony Romo, go win something before we pay you. I've never heard any other quarterback being said, you go win something before I pay you. Rainey's earned it, like you said, Space. He's definitely going to be underneath that percentage of the cap, like you've written, Joseph. I think it's just prime time that you finally saw what Patrick got. You now go out within the next couple of days, go ahead and be the biggest news splash, which Jerry loves. Hey, give all the media attention to Rain, and you go and sign this deal and go from there.
Yep. And look, I guess I'll do my final things. Is look, 2015 was a microcosm of the early 2000s. What you don't want to have, that was a roster that had no talent, more or less. I'm not, obviously it had talent.
I don't think it was the fact that they didn't have any talent, Space. I think the most key position that you lost was the quarterback.
No, and I agree, and I was going to get to that. Is like, so the roster itself, if you look at certain positions, it had some talent, but at the key position did not have that guy. If
That
Romo's
guy.
upright, they win the division that year.
That's right.
The coaching staff didn't know what to do with the backup quarterback in this instance. Guess what? We addressed that this year with getting Andy Dalton. No one thought that was going to happen. And also, you got a guy in the hole in Ben DiNucci that you can develop. And then finally, the front office, and you could see the that influence of Mike McCarthy, but also Will McClay not getting just shafted by Garrett and his coaching staff and letting him do him. That's it. We have 2015 is the microcosm of what we don't want to be, and this year is exactly what we wanted to see. Go pay Rain his money, and let's go win a Super Bowl.
Absolutely. Close it out for me, Joe. What you think?
Overall, I think Dak, as Space says, playing time and time again on his channel, Dak's earned his money. Let's pay him. And I do not want to hear, but the salary cap, next year you have ways to get out deals. You can restructure people if you want to. And I'm pretty sure there's also a couple other out clauses on guys if they want to retire, restructure.
Absolutely.
Both of those.
Right. Great. Well, listen, man, I am honored, man, that you guys gave me some of your time, man, some of your expertise and some of your knowledge. I definitely want to give you an opportunity, man, that if you're new to Frankly Football, we're new at this game, but we're trying to put out great content, so you spend some time with us. Look us up on YouTube, subscribe, hit the like button, help us get up in the algorithm so people can see more of us. Space, plug your channel, man. Tell people who you are again, man, if they don't already know.
Yeah, sure. If you guys don't know who I am already, I'm Space Cowboy 17 on YouTube. Just listen, talking Cowboys like everyone else that does this thing, and always just trying to educate and entertain people. That's my main thing on here, is try to get people to understand how things work in the football business side of things, because that's where my area of expertise is. So if you do like that stuff, feel free to swing by and watch some of my videos, subscribe, get educated, so that you know what's going on and how you can deal with these I Am Legend monsters that plague our fan base. So
That's right. Go and put your Twitter out there, Joseph, so folks can follow you, man.
On Twitter, I am Joseph Sandberg, and sometimes I talk to all these I Am Legend monsters that want to talk draft.
Good.
And also trade for an insert player here.
Yeah, it was hard today, man. I mean, you're always trying to go ahead and cure them, but it's one of those things, man. You just gotta let them be who they are, man, and just enjoy it. Well, listen, this is another edition of Frankly Football, man. I am Set It Off, Chris, man. We appreciate your time, and next time you get an opportunity to swing by, it'll be guys at the Watercooler. We hope you enjoy our time. Talk to y'all later. Peace.